All right, so 7 deal killers your sales team is making, or maybe you are the sales team. Hey, listen, I also love hearing lots of people as they go forward. So don't forget to also include this on the chat as we're going. Let me know, like, oh, I am guilty of this, or thank goodness I'm not one of those people, because the more you're going ahead and letting us know and interacting, the easier it is for me to ensure that I'm applying the information specifically to you. So I love starting off with a great little story. Okay. This happened probably around, just at the, somewhere around the middle of COVID, right? So COVID had already happened. All the companies had gone ahead, but then this digital marketing company actually said, like, we lost so much of our business overnight. And I know we're talking to a lot of insurance companies, a lot of real estate agents, a lot of people that are in that service-based industry. We're selling an intangible. In this case, the digital marketing was also selling an intangible. And it was really difficult for them to say, how do we continue to go through? And they were scared. They were scared because lots and lots of their clients were starting to pull back. They were looking for cheaper solutions. They were saying, well, maybe I just pull back on this right now. What if I don't go forward? And this ended up having massive impacts in their company. Maybe some of you have felt this. Maybe some of you have already gone through this. Go ahead in the chat and be like, we just went through this, or I'm also scared. So let's talk about what they did and how we're going to change this. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my sales background. So thank you so much. We got a little bit of an intro on everything I did. But even before I went ahead and wrote my own book, went ahead and started building some virtual sales training, I worked in the trenches. I was a salesperson, and I ended up working for companies like Xerox and American Express, logistics companies, and medical device companies. And what I learned was that sales is a process. Sales is something that you follow step by step as you go forward. And as long as you're following that process, you will always get there. Because what I am doing was, as long as I followed it, I ended up becoming sales rep of the year in my first year working for Xerox out of 131 reps across the country. And I sold to international companies and small businesses and individuals. All the process is the exact same. This is me today. You're like, oh, which one? They look like twins. I know, that's me on the left. I had like a little bit of darker hair back then, right? And that's my best friend, Oprah. She doesn't know she's my best friend, but I grew up with her, so I get to say that. I am also LinkedIn's most influential sales leader to follow. Please go check me out. Go follow me, connect with me even, right? You'll have to do a little extra step to connect with me, but let me know that you followed me or you saw my presentation today, and I will definitely accept you. Success Magazine's most inspirational blog. I showed you my third book. You can buy that on Amazon or wherever your favorite books are sold. I highly recommend that you go ahead and talk to a small bookstore owner as opposed to just going online. Go to the barnesandnoble.com as opposed to Amazon. Help them out. And yes, I am Startup Canada. And my company is KO Advantage, and we specialize in virtual selling. We're going to talk about all of the steps that you need to take specifically for when we can't be in person with our clients. This is a good thing. Okay. Not that I'm asking you to move away from all of your in-person, like those belly to belly conversations, as they used to say, but rather give yourself the opportunity that if you can't meet them in person, what is the alternative? And this is really getting you to a point where you're doing sales with you. And this is primarily for those that are having consulting boutique service-based businesses. You should be a premium in your market. If you're selling based on transactional, not everything is going to apply to you, but that's okay. Ask yourself, what can I take that will apply to me, and how do I build on that? But if for those of you that are like, Kim, we offer the best service, we offer the best quality, and therefore we also have to have the best price, I'm speaking to you, right? This is exactly who this is for. So let's talk about the first deal killer, is measuring the wrong activities. I'd love to see in the chat, when you go ahead and measure sales success, what is it that you're actually measuring? What are the things that you're looking for to say, yeah, we were successful. Yes, we're going forward. For most of us, sales success is measured by revenue, right? Well, of course, revenue, sales, income. Like, how else would you measure sales success, Kim? Absolutely not. Revenue only tells you the things that you've already done. Okay? That does not measure the effectiveness of a salesperson. That is a lagging indicator for those of you that understand economic terms, right? We look at economists look at leading indicators and lagging indicators when it comes to the economy. We look at, what is the price of inflation? What is the value of gold? What is housing starts? They look at all these little indicators. And in your own business, in your own micro economy, we shouldn't only be looking at the things that tell us what the work we've done. We need to be looking at the beginning portion of that, which means that you need to start looking at the right activity. What is the thing that we need to actually be looking at? Because clients at the bottom of that funnel, revenue at the bottom of that funnel, leaves out all of the beginning steps at the very top. How many proposals, how many conversations, how many meetings, how many prospects were you talking about? Now, I don't want you to think about, well, Kim, we measure the number of prospects we talk about, because that's also the wrong indicator. The reason why prospects is the wrong indicator is because I don't want to know how many conversations you have, but how you're converting initial conversations into the one thing that matters, which is meetings. Revenue lags and meetings lead. The only thing that you need to start measuring is how many meetings, how many client conversations, how many calendar invites do you have in a calendar? And if you're leading a team, this needs to be a Monday morning metric for all of those sales meetings. You need to go around and look at every single member of your team and say, how many meetings do you have? How many meetings do you have? How many meetings do you have? Because this will tell you the work that has yet to come through the door and ultimately lead to success. The revenue that you closed today wasn't necessarily built because of the activities you did yesterday. It was probably the activities you were doing a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. Today, we need to make sure that we're building our pipeline. We're building the activities so that we will see revenue in the future, a month, 3 months, 6 months from now. Measure meetings. Okay. So your take action for this is, number one, calculate that sales funnel. Okay. Figure out how many meetings do you actually need. And one of the things I showed in that sales funnel was that there was the ratios. I like to have about a 4-to-1. Every company and every industry is going to be different. Maybe yours is 10-to-1, maybe yours is 12-to-1, maybe yours is 2-to-1. But whatever that metric is, start with a 4-to-1 as kind of a rule of thumb, a guideline as you're going forward. And the number of clients you need every month, I apologize. The number of clients you need every month must be equal to the number of clients that you are meeting with every week, right? 4 weeks in a month, 4 times 4, divide by 4, blah, 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 blah. Make it simple. Right? Number of clients you need every month equals the number of meetings you have to have every week, and more. Okay. All right. Number 2. How many of you are guilty of this? Sending emails that receive no response. Oh no, she's personally offending me. It's talking about me. I know, right? You're sending these emails and you're like, I hope the world has allowed that email to receive a response. And yet it never happens. Right? Take a look at the number of emails that you're ultimately sending and ask yourself, if I sent, look at your sent box. How many emails have you sent? 10 emails, 20 emails in the last week? Maybe even more than that? What percentage of those actually received a response? And if you're not getting a response from that, if that response is less than 20, less than 10, less than 5, less than 1, does it tell you that you just need to send more emails? Or do you need to get better at the emails that you're sending? And there's lots of information when it comes to emails and how we're going to be creating that. Because the number one thing that determines whether your email is going to get a response or not is how lengthy is the email. LinkedIn did a study in their state of sales study back last year, and they determined that the biggest responsive emails are 400 characters or less. 400 characters. For those of you that are active on Twitter, that is less than 2 tweets. They increased the tweet limit the character limit on Twitter to 280. Is your email less than 2 tweets long? If it is not less than 2 tweets long, if it is more than that, you're seeing this massive decline. Like, that is a significant decline. And look at this person, 1,400 characters. This is a mini blog post almost. And you would be surprised by how quickly we have this, right? Even if you divide this by about 4, I mean, that's less than 100 words. Are you sending emails that are less than 100 words? If you're not, you have to start getting more effective with this. One of the other things that will help you increase your email response rate is asking more questions. And I see far too many emails that are asking zero questions. Take a look at your last 5, 10, 20 emails and ask yourself, how many questions did I ask in that email? And I'm sure you think you're asking a question, but likely you're closing the conversation off with, if you would like to discuss this further, I would be happy to meet, period. Right? Let me know if you find this information valuable. I'd be happy to send you more, period. Right? That's not a question. A question is, do you find this interesting? Would you like to find out more? The moment you start to ask even one question, and hi, how are you is not a question. Let's be very clear with that. That's rhetorical. Nobody's going to respond to that. We're not grade 8 pen pals writing to each other looking for, hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Doing really good. That's garbage. Okay. We just get right to the meat and potatoes. We get right to the crux of what you want to say and ask some follow-up questions. Asking even one question dramatically increases your response rate by 50%. You go from 40 to now more than 60. And don't think the number of questions you ask in an email must be limited, because it doesn't. It turns out even if you ask 8 or more, like if your entire email was only questions, you would still get a better response than what you're currently sending. Okay? So shorten those emails. Ask more questions, right? Work on that email formula. Ask yourself, how do I ask better questions? And we provide this as you go forward. There is a great formula. We go into a hook. We go into a problem question. We go into a solution question. And then we ask for a call to action question. That is how you should start writing your emails. And if you're writing too much information, if you're talking too much about yourself, no good. Okay. I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end of this presentation to connect with us and be able to really get your emails even better. But you need to start by using Google Docs, using Word, writing your email out and checking how many words is that. And if it's over 100, start eliminating. If you're not asking more than one question, start asking questions. All right, number 3, you're not using social to sell. So first of all, I know all of you are on social because you more than likely found out about this event through LinkedIn or through Twitter, right? That was the biggest area that most of us were promoting it and talking about it. Hey, come to this event, come to this event. You found out about it. So you're already on social media, but are you using it effectively? Because too many people, we see one of two things for the vast majority of people on social media. The first ones are those that are flogging goods. Bam, 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 bam. I got a service. I got a product. I got a solution you need. Contact me. And what ends up happening? Wah, wah. They end up falling themselves all the way down to the bottom of the feed because the algorithms are saying, this isn't engaging content. Why should we continue to promote it? Why should we put it on top of feed for somebody if nobody's really interested in it anyway, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is you're quiet. I don't want anyone to know about me. I don't want to share what I'm doing. And so we sit there quietly and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to like that one and I'll like that one. And that's good. You need to comment. You need to post polls. You need to be part of the conversation. Social media is not a fairground of wares. We're not talking about a flea market. We are talking about a water cooler, a conference trade show where we're having lots of conversation. How many conversations are you having? So what we end up seeing is just by being actively involved in social media, you can immediately outperform your peers by 23%. right? Just by engaging on social media. Go ahead and build yourself out some great conversations. Have these conversations, because the thing about social media, unlike traditional cold outreaches, cold calls is one of the ones, right? Cold calls relies on synchronicity. I rely on you to be, if I am going to call you, I am relying on you to be sitting at your phone, fully available at the time that I call you, and being able to pick up. There's too many things that are involved in that entire equation that leaves us up for failure. Whereas social media allows us to have asynchronous communication. I send you a message, I wait till you're available and you respond back. I send you a message, I wait till you're available and you send something back. We're allowed to have conversations outside of hours. We're allowed to have conversations while I'm in a meeting. Chances are, and tell me in the chat if this is you, chances are you're probably even watching this presentation and you're sitting there and you're scrolling on your own LinkedIn. And that's okay, because that's what social selling is supposed to be about. So what you want to do in order to build this bigger is that you need to write, you need to share, and you need to interact. Now, LinkedIn, when they did this poll, they found vast majority of people are like, I'm definitely going to write more. I am definitely going to share more. And that's great. I am so glad with the intentions. But what I want you to take notice in here is the 34% that will interact. What we see from an algorithm and what we see from an interaction, and you can actually see this as your own proof, is that the interactions, the comments, and robust comments. I'm responding to you with a few sentences. I'm responding to you because I believe pineapple belongs on pizza, and these are the reasons why. Not just, yes, it does. Right? I'm going to give you some insights, some opinions, some thoughts behind it. That is going to increase your view rate. I promise you, if you made a commitment today to comment on 3 posts, or even just write 1 more post, next week, when you look at the number of people that have viewed your profile, you comment on 3 per day, and you write 1 post. Write your post right now. Take a quick screenshot of what you're seeing. Go ahead, post this on LinkedIn and say, I'm at the leadership conference. Go ahead and tag us in there. We will share, we will interact with you. You are going to see an increase in the number of people that are viewing your profile. Profile views will translate into people connecting with you, will translate to people direct messaging you, will have an impact on your sales. This needs to be part of your daily cadence. Your first things that you should do every single day is open up Gmail, open up Calendar, open up your CRM, open up LinkedIn, and immediately start commenting on 3 LinkedIns every single day. It'll take you 10 minutes. If it takes you more than 10 minutes, you're doing it wrong. Right? But you're going to see that increase in interaction. So your take action, okay? Use LinkedIn, right? Take a look at it, explore the features on it. And if you're not using all the different features, they have polls, they have images, they have slide shares. Create a PDF on canva.com and allow people to scroll through the information. Write an article or don't. Share an article that you found newsworthy or you found interesting. Put a comment on what it is. Comment on 3 updates every single day with robustness. Challenge yourself for 3 comments of at least 3 sentences per comment. It won't take a lot of time. It does have to be part of your daily habit. And then you can start connecting with more prospects immediately. They'll check you out, you check them out. Remember how I said social media is not meant to be a flea market of wares? Your profile is allowed to. That is where you give people a chance to interact with you on the main newsfeed. And then if they're interested in finding out more, they will go and check you out. So make sure you take a look at your profile as well. Do you have a brochure on there? Do you have links? Do you have ways of people to interact with you? Do you have a Calendly link? If you don't have those types of minimums, get that started. But start with the comments. Comments, comments, comments. Number 4. Oh, salespeople. Oh, they talk too much. Am I right? Am I right? Right? One of the things that we're seeing, I do a lot of presentations for a lot of big CEO groups. And almost unanimously, when I ask them, how much time should a salesperson be talking when they're meeting with you? Overwhelmingly. I want to see here in the chats. I want to hear in the comments what we're having as we're going through them. And I want to see if we can go ahead and get those answers, because overwhelmingly what we end up seeing from clients with those CEOs when they say how much time they want a salesperson chatting with them, you'll get the answer. You'll probably be way too high. Is it 50%, 70%? It comes actually closer to 20%. 20% on average is what they say, right? Now, I'll give you a little bit of, wiggle room here, right? I'll give you 20, 30%, maybe as much as 50%, but definitely not more. Which means that if the person is spending so much time talking, they're not doing what they should be doing, asking questions. I do not give you a statement and expect you to respond back with a single statement. Too many of your clients will sit there and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, scroll. Oh yeah, this is really interesting. Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. They're not doing that, right? You need to engage with them. And if you want to gain information from your clients, you need to ask more questions. Questions. Okay. So how much time do the buyers want salespeople? It is 20%, 30%. If you are a sales leader watching this right now, I want you to challenge yourself. Listen to every one of your sales reps' calls. And at the end of that call, ask the sales rep, who did more of the talking? And if the sales rep says, oh, it was the client, awesome. If they immediately look sheepish and be like, it was me, the next question should be like, well, who should be doing majority of the talking? Okay. If you did the majority of the talking, who should have been doing the majority of the talking? The client. Okay, well then what are you going to do to change that? You need to get yourself more engaged. So how many questions should you start asking? Gong.io did a study on this. And thankfully, they have these little bots that sit there and listen to all the calls, and they go ahead and they analyze them. Now, one of the best things about Gong is that they can actually take all of this information and start to microanalyze it as entire industry or sweeping statistics. And what they found was that there was a direct correlation between the closing rate and the number of questions that were asked in a call. And what they found out was that in a sales meeting, in a sales call, and it doesn't have to be a long one, most of the sales meetings that we teach our students to have are 20 minutes long. On the red side, it actually says the high, which is 11 to 14 questions. This low side, which gives you a less than 40% chance of closing, is less than 6 questions. 6 questions. That's not enough. That's not enough to find out about the client. And the quality of the questions is just as important as the quantity of the questions. Asking someone, do you have an insurance provider? Are you looking to save money? Do you have a home, auto, and life ability? Are you located in your city, or do you have any vacation properties? And how many children do you have? That's not questions. Okay, you might think they are, and you're like, check. That's awesome, but it's not, right? Asking how many, when, where, how, why are more valuable questions, because they force the client to give us more information. So take action. Okay. If you're asking too few questions, or you're not allowing your client to spend enough time talking, this is your take action, is that you have to prepare a proper list of 20 questions. And this, if you're working with a team, I would have everyone sit down and provide you 1 or 2 questions. Create this list. There should be, and then when you get to a point where you say, okay, how many questions have we asked? Now it gets to a point where there's no reason why somebody couldn't think of a new question. We had this list. Why are you not following it? We don't need them to follow every single question, but we do need them to ask them. Okay? And see if you can take some of those questions and shrink them down. Shorter questions are more clear to the person listening. The shorter the question, the easier it is for me as the listener to discern the information and be able to give you a proper response. Stay away from long and lengthy questions. You don't need them. Amateurs ask long, lengthy questions because they keep talking. Well, I have to give background information to the client. Why? Are you assuming the client doesn't understand in the recent economic terms, right? Are you assuming the client doesn't understand the reasons why they're meeting with you? Just get a clearer question, a shorter question, and build it. And make sure all of your questions are asking those open-ended who, what, where, when, how, or why responses. Number 5, your proposals. When you're delivering proposals, talk all about you and not about the one person that really matters, the client. Okay? I see far too many proposals. I had a gentleman come up to me one day. He says, Kim, would you mind taking a look at my proposals? I'm just not getting the close ratio I want out of my proposals. And I said, yeah, fair enough, Pete. Like, I'll take a look. And he goes through this 32-page slide deck. 32 pages. He's just breezing through it with me because I already have an idea, but I could only imagine some poor client that had to sit for probably 45 minutes or an hour as he's talking about the history of his company, the impact that they've had, the companies they've worked for in the past, their philanthropic efforts. Like, there was so much information in there. And I'm just like, okay. And I said, so at what point in the proposal do you start talking about the client? And after 18 pages later, he says, okay, well, now here's the solution. I'm like, you're expecting the client to sit through 30 minutes as you talk all about yourself before they finally start to hear about a solution? I said, where's the impact of that solution? What are the reasons why they're even talking to you to begin with? He goes, well, I just assume that they already know that. I'm like, don't assume that the client doesn't want to hear about themselves. Stephen Covey talked about this in How to Win Friends, that was Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was Stephen Covey in Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Yet too many proposals are trying to ask the client to understand me. Let me tell you about me. Let me tell you about my history. Let me tell you all about me. Imagine being on a first date with somebody and all they did was talk about themselves. Like, you would never join another first date. You would never go on a second date with this person. Get to the one thing your client cares about, which is all about them. Get rid of everything else. If your client is not buying because they need to find out what other clients you've worked with, what are your philanthropic efforts, how long have you been in business for, what are some of your solution suites include, then okay, fine. You have those slides already prepared, but they do not need to be in every single proposal going forward. What your client truly cares about needs to be in the proposal. And the only things your client cares about are, what are you going to solve? What is the problem I'm facing? And where will we be together when this is solved? Oh yeah, and then what's the solution and what's the price? But the solution is part of just a smaller picture. I need to see what the big picture is. What impact are we going to make together? So your proposal has to address these questions. And if it doesn't address these questions, honestly, we do a 6-slide proposal, but you could easily do this in 4 slides if you really want to. What does the client want? What are their goals? What are their ambitions? Where do they want to be after this is going forward? What happens if they don't get it? Right? Where will they be after working with you? What will that look like in 6 months, 3 months time after they're finished working with you? And then how long will this all take? Time is of the essence. And if I don't know where I'm going to be by the end of this, why would I engage? Okay. Your take action. Create this as a proposal template. We built ours to be 6 slides, like I said. I go goals and aspirations, current state, ideal state, solution, timing, pricing. That is it. Those are the only 6 slides that you really need to build out a proper proposal. Whether you choose to use that as your template or something else, less is more. Talk on it. Present it with your client. Don't just send some information and hope it goes. All right, number 6. Oh, you need those referrals, but We haven't built it into our sales process, have we? Right? We talk about how much we want referrals, and there's a good reason for that. Salesforce.com did a study that actually said you have an 89% chance of closing business when it starts from a referral. We all believe in the value of referral because if it comes from a referral, it is more likely to close the deal. You get a 70% higher conversion when B2B companies start with a referral. And maybe you're a B2C company. I imagine that's even more. How many times, even from your own buying experiences, how many times have you chosen to buy or not buy because Google reviews have been either good or bad, right? Amazon reviews have been good or bad. Or you've had somebody who said, like, you should just see this person. You should see my dentist. You should see my mechanic. You should see my insurance broker. Right? Referrals are a transfer of trust. I trust you and I will trust anything that you recommend to me. So therefore, because we ourselves are more likely to buy when someone we trust gives us a referral, you need to build this into your sales process. Absolutely, hands down, non-negotiable. This has to be a conversation that must be had. How do you go ahead and engage people so they're able to go forward? And this is all about asking better questions. Who else do you know? Who do you golf with at the country club? Who else would you love to see get returns the same way you do? Who else? Who else? Who else? Would you mind introducing us via email? Asking for that call to action, but it must be done. And it must be done the moment a client buys, because that is when they were emotionally the highest. And people that are emotionally the highest are more receptive to new information and they're more willing to help. Whereas once they start working with you, they're happy and they're satisfied, but they're not as excited and as happy as the moment they signed that agreement. So immediately after getting the agreement, build it into the sales process. The first thing, if you're moving from a salesperson to maybe client success, you want to move it and then immediately have someone on client success ask, we're so excited to have work with you, right? Maybe they go through the onboarding and, hey, who else would be a great person that, someone on our team could contact? Would you mind putting us in touch via email? Ask, remind. There was a study by Texas Tech, and it said something along the lines of 70% of clients were willing to provide a referral after a positive experience, but only 30% do. We're not asking. Build it into your sales process. Do a blitz with your team. Ask them, this week, we're only going to ask for referrals. Go to every one of your clients and ask them, who can we put in touch with? Who can we put in touch with? And create a leaderboard. Right? Check. I can guarantee you will 3 times your pipeline only by asking for referrals. Okay. And your last point. You understand all of this, but you don't take time to practice it. Right? Practice makes perfect. Right? Fail to prepare and prepare to fail. Right? You would never see an elite athlete go ahead and be like, listen, coach, I know the game. I've been playing it for 10, 12 years, right? That's awesome. I don't need to show up to the practices. I only need to show up on game day. The coach would be like hell you are. You're showing up to practice. We're going through this. We're going to do this. You're going to try some new plays. You're going to work on the fundamentals. So if an elite athlete, someone who is getting paid to perform at the highest level, can not get away without practicing. Why are you allowing your salespeople to try to perform at the highest level, but they don't need time to practice? I only want them to be in gameplay. I only want them to be meeting with clients, but I don't care what they do before they get there. Practice. We are in a new world of sales. And for those of us that aren't already experts on social selling, those of us that aren't already experts in 20-minute meetings, those of us that are writing proposals that are more than 6 slides long, we need to take time to practice, role play, and go forward. So your take action is spend time practicing. I gave you 6 tips even before this on things you need to practice. How many meetings are we doing, and what are we doing to get more meetings? How are we sending our emails, and are we practicing sending better emails? Are we practicing asking more questions and spending less time talking in our meetings? Are we practicing creating proposals and delivering them online in a way that is done in 20 minutes or less? There are so many things that we need to practice and try and fumble and do something different, but you need to provide your people with a safe environment to do it. Otherwise, they will revert back to old habits and they will ask you, the economy is just really bad, there's no one buying. Right? That's not the case. There's always money to be found. There are always clients out there. You need to be the coach that helps them to find the all of the experience and the practice that they need going forward. Okay. When you get all of this, you're going to be able to move clients in mysterious ways. We worked with a client just on asking better questions. We actually built in more emotional, intelligent questions, asking questions such as, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about the solution? As opposed to, what do you think about the solution? It seems simple, but there's a psychological component on how we interact with certain phrasing versus others. And when Cameron, in his case, as an engineer, started asking his clients, how do you feel about what we've discussed? He says it was like magic. He moved a client from a 5 to a 9 out of 10. Oh, imagine that with one question. How many of your clients are sitting there just on the final threshold and we're trying to push them over the edge? Ask a better question. Okay. Now, I gave you a little story at the beginning. What ended up happening with those clients? We worked with them. We worked with them on those 7 deal killers. And what they found was last year, so last March, they started it in March 2021. And before they graduated our program, they had 2 new deals in the pipeline, 2 new clients that weren't even on their radar, and they were able to get clearer on being able to close them. They were also working on their biggest deal ever. They went from a place of scared and I can't go bankrupt to all of a sudden saying, this is incredible. We're able to do this. We couldn't have done this without you. So how do we get you started, right? I want to give you one more story. And this is from Doug, who ended up taking the same conversations. And he says, not only was he able to close a 6-figure deal, he built so much value with his clients that they paid more as a bonus. Now, don't get me wrong here. This isn't them saying, Doug, you did amazing. We want to give you more money. It was like, Doug, this is incredible. Listen, some of the things that you also discussed were this and this and this. What would it look like if you were to do that for us as well? Okay. So starting this Friday for 4 weeks, right? Minus the Good Friday weekend. But for 4 weeks, we're going to be working just on social selling with you or your team. There's the QR code. Go ahead, get a snapshot of that. Go check it out. But for an hour and a half, you will work with us and we're going to build better on that LinkedIn. Number 3, you're not using LinkedIn enough. If you're struggling with meetings, get better at LinkedIn. If you're struggling to get those conversations going, get better at LinkedIn. And we're going to work with you specifically on LinkedIn engagement with our Social Selling Fridays. Go ahead and get connected. Thank you. I hope, number 1, get that hand cramp off of there, that it's not too much, that you have some great takeaways. I also want to hear in the chat, what is one thing that you're taking away from, right? If you did one thing at the end of this presentation, what is that one thing that you are going to do immediately? Maybe it's connecting with me on LinkedIn. Maybe it's doing your own social media posting. Maybe it's joining us for Social Selling Fridays. I would love to hear from you. Thank you. It was an honor to be here. I know you had other things to do today, and I am grateful that you took the time to help improve your sales, your client engagements as you continue to go forward.